I recently had the opportunity to fly domestic first class on Delta Airlines and Alaska Airlines for the same route. And so I wanted to make a determination of what each experience was like compared to the other and which one's better when it comes to providing a domestic first class experience. Here's what I found. The flights were between Seattle and San Diego. Both the Delta and Alaska flight were operated on Boeing 737-800 aircrafts. And the Delta flight was a morning flight, whereas the Alaska Airlines flight was an evening flight. Let's first compare the pre-flight experience between these two airlines. For Delta, 2 pieces of checked luggage were included as part of the first class airfare. There was a priority check-in line at the airport. One thing of note was that flying first class domestic did not provide access to the Delta lounge at the airport. However, I was able to get access to the lounge thanks to the American Express Platinum card. However, flying just domestic first class would not have granted access. If you're flying Delta One domestic, but that's usually limited to transcontinental flights, and even then, only specific routes. Flying Delta One would grant access to the Delta Sky Lounge, but otherwise, first class itself does not necessarily mean that you would get access to the lounge, and that's kind of a bummer because especially since at SeaTac International Airport, there's a fantastic Delta Sky Lounge. It does also involve priority boarding. For Alaska Airlines, just like Delta, 2 pieces of checked luggage are included as part of the first class airfare. There was also a priority check-in line at the airport thanks to being in first class. Also, like Delta, being in domestic first class for Alaska also did not grant access to the Alaska Airlines lounge. There was also priority boarding as part of the first class ticket. Like I mentioned, thanks to my American Express Platinum card and its partnership with Delta, flying on a same-day Delta operated flight provided me access to this fantastic Delta Sky Lounge at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. As you can see, the lounge is 2 stories and is ginormous. It was actually really cool too because because I went during the morning, there was a even made-to-order breakfast burrito bar that was manned by a chef, so that was pretty cool. There was a large variety of hot and cold options for breakfast. The lounge includes several self-serve coffee machines, as well as having a bar open. Now let's compare the in-flight experience between Delta and Alaska for their domestic first class. On Delta, regardless of which class of service you're in, all seats come with a seatback entertainment screen. I did find the seats in the Delta first class to be a bit newer looking than the ones on Alaska Airlines. A tablecloth was laid down on the tray table prior to the food being served, and a snack was offered prior to the meal. The snack consisted of usually chips or cookies and that type of thing. For Alaska Airlines, regardless of which class of service you're in, no seatback entertainment screens are available. However, Alaska Airlines does have its own Wi-Fi system where guests can watch TV shows and movies on their own device. Like I mentioned, the seats in Alaska Airlines first class were a bit more older and worn looking compared to Delta. I've read that Alaska is in the process of retrofitting their 737-800 aircrafts. The one that I flew on had not been retrofitted yet, so that's probably why it was a bit older and worn looking. During the meal service, no tablecloth was used and no snacks were offered in Alaska domestic first class. Here are some photos of the meals that were served on Alaska Airlines and Delta for their domestic first class. In Alaska, there were 3 different meal options. There was a sesame chicken, a wedge salad, or a cheese plate. I chose the sesame chicken, and as you can see, it was a very generous portion of chicken for the Alaska Airlines dinner. For Delta, there were also 3 different options. It included a chicken farro salad, a burger, as well as a vegetarian option. Both meals were actually very tasty on Alaska Airlines and on Delta. However, Alaska was much more generous with the amount of protein that was offered, whereas the Delta lunch that I had tasted very good, but only included 3 small pieces of chicken. So it would have been nice to get a little bit more chicken in there. Reflecting on my experience on this flight between San Diego and Seattle, I would have to say that Delta won when it came to the overall experience in the domestic first class. And that's mostly due to the fact that it involved a newer plane. It was nice to have the seatback entertainment screens. While it's fine to watch shows and movies on my phone, but that's just a lot smaller of a screen compared to the seatback screens, as well as the fact that I had access to the Delta Sky Lounge at SeaTac Airport. That might not be the case if there isn't a Delta Sky Lounge in your nearest airport, and if you didn't have the American Express Platinum card. However, because I do have the American Express Platinum card, and there is that fantastic, huge 2-story Sky Lounge at SeaTac Airport, that really made the experience even better for me. So yes, I would say that if I had to pick, I would pick Delta when picking a domestic first class compared to Alaska. Thank you for watching and have a great day.